is the duplicity of policy and the duplicity of approach. I say so not proudly, but recognizing that if I want to do carbon credits in Guyana, I will get probably 1/10 of what I could get in Europe for them. There has to be a better approach to build trust across the world on so many of these issues. If we can make progress on these multiple fronts, then we will come to be successful in 2030. If we don't, then we are going to pay the price of failure. And those who pay the price perhaps are not in this room. They're the people whose voices and whose faces are not heard and not seen respectively. And our solemn obligation as leaders here is to ensure that they are not going to be put on the front line of either our failure to alter the status quo or to summon the courage to make the changes that are necessary at this most pivotal time in the world's history. I am here because I believe we can do it. I am here because I have confidence in the fact that this pathway creates jobs, creates opportunities, and ultimately secures hope at the very time when the world needs hope more than ever. I thank you, therefore, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you, recognizing, however, our limitations as small states and hoping that the partnerships will not only be in public and private sector for large countries, but also for small states. And I make one last point. If we don't find mechanisms as well to tap into the domestic capital so that they become owners of what we will bring about with this green transition, we will turn people who live as proud, independent citizens into tenants in their own land again. We have not set on this journey to recolonize our people, but in fact to liberate them from a planet that is effectively in great crisis. Let us therefore do the right thing, but see people and hear people so that they can be part and parcel of the solution the world over. Thank you.
When the Secretary General of the United Nations called and told me that he had selected one of the largest oil exporters in the world as the host country for COP28, I thought he was what we in New York would call a little bit sugared. That means crazy for those of you that don't live here. But he did, and he picked somebody, or the country picked somebody to represent them and do the job of pulling it all together as the president of COP28, and that person is Dr. Sultan Al Jaber. Under his leadership, last year's COP led to unprecedented commitments on clean energy, methane, heavy industry, and other critical pieces in the battle against climate change. COP28, you should know, was also the first UN climate conference to have an official summit for cities, states, and regions where the people live. This was an important step forward, and Dr. Sultan deserves a lot of credit for helping to make it possible. Together, we hosted the local Climate Action Summit, which highlighted the work mayors and other local leaders are doing, and the need for greater partnership across all levels of government. And now he's been working closely with the leaders of the next two COP conferences to ensure that they build on momentum from Dubai and help fulfill the commitment we made there. He's become a good friend of mine. We were lucky to have him, and we're looking forward to the help from him for a lot of things going forward. Please welcome Dr. Sultan.
Thank you very much, Mike, for your kind introduction. And I must say that the success that was achieved at COP28 was due to the fact that we had adopted a completely different approach, an approach that was centered around inclusivity, and an approach that have allowed for everyone to participate, and it also provided a platform for the world to unite, to act, and to deliver. And it was that platform that have enabled me to prove the skeptics wrong and to inspire the optimists and who were really genuine in helping advance our efforts in achieving such an unprecedented result at COP28. Allow me to use this opportunity to acknowledge everyone here in this room and beyond for your contributions and for your support and for your guidance throughout the preparations and the lead up to COP28. Without your support, without your guidance, it would not have been possible for us to achieve such an unprecedented outcome at COP28. Let me also use this opportunity to recognize our partners in this very important event, and in particular here, the EU Commission, Barbados, the governments of Brazil, Kenya, the COP29 presidency, and many other organizations that have contributed immensely to the success and the progress made thus far. The theme of this summit, driving action to triple renewable energy, could not be more timely or more critical. As you know, tripling renewable energy capacity by 2030 was one of the key outcomes of the historic, most comprehensive, balanced, practical, pragmatic, and very ambitious set of outcomes adopted at COP28, known as the UAE Consensus. Tripling renewable energy capacity is not just a benchmark, it is, in fact, an essential enabler of all global efforts to keep 1.5 within reach, advance sustainable prosperity, and it will make sure that no one is left behind. Excellencies, friends, distinguished guests, over the last 20 years, renewable energy capacity has grown 8 times, while costs have dropped by 80%. In fact, the average cost of solar power just reached a new low of 4 cents per kilowatt hour. That is basically cheaper than many other forms of energy available today. The trends are actually moving in the right direction. They're just not moving fast enough or with the scale that is desperately needed. We urgently need to invest in 3 key areas. We must invest in grid infrastructure, AI, and the Global South. In many industrialized countries, the electricity grids are over 65 years old. And in many parts of the Global South, there are no grids at all. This is where governments must act. This is where governments must step up. All countries should include specific renewable energy and infrastructure targets in their upcoming NDCs. They should put policies in place that incentivize private investors. And they should streamline permitting, and ask someone who's been implementing renewable energy for the past 20 years, is a critical success factor. In too many places, the pace of permitting is like driving with handbrakes on, when we need to, in fact, be accelerating down the highway in order for us to be able to meet such ambitious targets. AI has been talked about in every single room today. AI is in fact real. AI is changing the pace of change across every industry, and AI can help unlock the two key challenges faced by renewable energy, and that is intermittency and storage. AI can integrate baseload and renewable energy sources to minimize emissions. It can predict peaks and dips in usage, and it can extend battery life. The faster we apply AI to the energy sector, the faster its benefits can be scaled. Friends and colleagues, the opportunity of sustainable economic prosperity through smarter, greener growth has never been greater. And time has come for us to stop perceiving the investment in renewable energy as a liability or only as a cost. In fact, it is very profitable, and we should view it as the new comprehensive, holistic, new economic development program that will ensure sustainable prosperity worldwide. Some of the worlds are not seeing a fair share of the opportunity at hand when it comes to deploying renewable energy at scale. Right now, over 120 developing countries attract less than 15% of global renewable energy investment. The international financial institutions must step up. They must shift gears, and they must make finance more available, more accessible, and more importantly, more affordable. And private finance must be incentivized through innovative blended models. The Africa Green Investment Initiative, launched last year by the UAE in partnership with our friends and colleagues in Kenya, is one example of this approach. The initiative has combined development and private capital from the UAE to target 25 projects across 14 African nations in partnership with Africa 50. Another example is Altera, the world's first catalytic private investment vehicle devoted and entirely dedicated to climate solutions. Launched at COP28, Altera's $30 billion fund has now deployed already in only 8 months, $6.5 billion across mature and emerging targets, targeting 40 gigawatt of clean power. There is much more to do to fill the clean power development gap in the Global South, and I couldn't agree more with Prime Minister Motley that we are taking the necessary steps, we are taking big steps, but much more needs to happen. Here, I'd like to encourage all parties to explore all new models, all solutions, and of course, in collaboration with like-minded partners. Business as usual cannot and will not help us deliver against our ambitious goals. We need to be smart, we need to correct course, and we need to change the game. Distinguished guests, to make the advances we need in the time available, business must think differently in order for us to be able to deliver. We need a new model of engagement that will drive public and private partnership to a completely new level. We need a true spirit of solidarity that brings everyone to the table. And we need a renewed sense of positivity. Allow me to repeat. We need a renewed sense of positivity that views spending on renewables as an investment and that will bring significant returns. Being negative will get us nowhere. We will just continue to spin the wheel. Let's think positive, let's think bigger, and let's act bolder. Let's lead the race towards a cleaner, greener world, and let us act now, and let us again unite, let us act, and let us deliver. I'm very much counting on the momentum of COP28 continuing on to COP29, and from there, through the Troika arrangement to COP30. I thank you all for your support.
Our next speaker is the president of the upcoming COP29, Muhtar Babayev. He is presiding over COP at a critical moment in the battle against climate change. As we all know, nations are working to update their goals and raise their ambitions as they're required to in the lead up to COP30 next year in Brazil. This year, COP will rightly have a special focus on climate finance, which is a central piece of the puzzle. So we're glad to have him with us here today and looking forward to working together in the months ahead. Please welcome COP29 President Babayev.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to join you today at this critical summit. We extend our deep gratitude to the Global Renewables Alliance, Bloomberg Philanthropies, and all partners for convening us. Dear colleagues, the UE consensus at COP28 marked a significant achievement and laid a strong foundation for the work ahead. To deliver on its calls on energy transitions in a just and orderly manner, we must rapidly scale up the renewable energy systems of the future. These issues are deeply interconnected. We must now work together to put in place the enabling conditions to implement the targets of the global stocktake. The COP29 action agenda has placed a strong emphasis on energy, and we have developed a series of initiatives designed to accelerate the implementation of renewable energy transition based on the decisions that have been taken in Dubai. The Green Energy Zones and Corridors Declaration aims to promote investments, stimulate economic growth, and foster regional cooperation in renewable energy development. This will allow us to maximize generation in suitable areas and support cost-effective transmission over large distance and across borders. The Global Energy Storage and Grids Pledge sets an ambitious target to increase global energy storage capacity to 1.5 thousand gigawatts by 2030, 6 times above 2022 levels. It also commits to scaling up investments in grids and upgrade more than 80 million kilometers by 2040. This will be essential to ensure adequate storage capacity and the stability of grids, both of which are key enablers for the effective storage and reliable transition of renewable energy. The Hydrogen Declaration then seeks to unlock the potential of a global market for clean hydrogen and its byproducts. This will be crucial to decarbonizing hard-to-reduce sectors and developing storage solutions, as excess energy can be used to produce green hydrogen. These initiatives aim to take some of the next logical steps in the implementation of the UAE consensus. They recognize that while the cost of renewables may be fallen dramatically, we must provide further policy support to create flexible business models for a clean energy future. We therefore call upon all relevant stakeholders from the public and private sectors to endorse those declarations and send strong market signals. We must also work across both the supply and demand side of global energy markets. Within the COP29 action agenda, we are engaging with a range of private sector stakeholders to help them decarbonize their operations. We also know that clean energy offtake agreements can support the financing of renewable projects. To take one example, this energy demands of digital technology companies are rising rapidly. But we are convinced that the sector can play a crucial role in using digital tools for climate action and supporting the development of renewable energy. We have therefore launched the Green Digital Action Declaration, which we call on governments and the private sector to endorse. Ladies and gentlemen, these initiatives also support the COP29 presidency's wider plan to enhance ambition and enable action. To enhance ambition, we are calling all parties to submit 1.5 aligned nationally determined contributions before February 2025 deadline. These NDCs should integrate ambitious but achievable renewable energy targets. This is a critical moment to translate global targets into national action plans. To enable action, climate finance is essential in supporting developing countries in their transition to renewable energy systems and will be centerpiece at COP29. The COP29 presidency's top negotiating priority is to negotiate a new collective quantified goal on climate finance. This goal must be fair and ambitious and adequate to meet the scale of the challenge before us. Determination and leadership are now needed from all parties to bridge the gaps that still divide us in this critical final phase.
Sometimes on. What's your story? What is your story? And the what? Doing what? Praising my say.